Calling to order the regular meeting of the Wheeling Plan Commission for Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Casper.
Present.
Commissioner Heiken is absent with previous notice. Commissioner Berkey.
Here.
Commissioner Sprague is here. Commissioner Riles.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Chairman Johnson.
Here. Ms. Nyes, any changes to tonight's agenda?
No changes.
Do we have any citizens' concerns and comments? I don't believe so. And we have no consent items, so we'll move right along to docket PC 22-12, minor site plan and appearance approval for a building addition at First Student Incorporated, 200 Shepard Avenue. Ms. Nyes?
So we have a minor site plan and appearance approval for a small building addition to, if you can see where my cursor is, to the building located here. It's going to be on this northeast corner. As you can see from this picture, there's currently a temporary structure out there, and the new structure is going to be larger but permanent and put in the same location, and it's a shelter for the bus drivers to wait in before and after their drop-off. I think that's it in a nutshell, and there is someone here from First Student
Come on up.
and I have the plans also if anybody wants to, this one, yeah, reference anything.
And just state your name and business address for
How
the
you doing? My
record.
name is Justin Becker. Business address 5518 West Belmont. That's our office.
Okay.
Like she said, basically what we're trying to do is build a bigger addition for the side for the bus drivers to have somewhere to wait while they're waiting for their call, basically. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay. Anything else we need to know before we go to the board for, or commission for any questions?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, yeah.
All right. Commissioner Meyer.
No questions.
Commissioner Riles.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
How are you?
Good. I bet the employees are going to...
Yeah, that they're looking
waiting
forward
for
to
that,
it.
huh?
They're actually complaining, oh, what's the wait? I'm like, it's out of my control. So, yeah.
Just a couple curiosity questions, basically. You're going to provide like heat and AC?
Yeah, so they're going to be like, I guess, portable units on both sides, just to make sure that it stays the right temperature per season. So.
Okay. Does that need sprinkler system in it, or
I don't think so.
is that no?
It's not a currently sprinkler building.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So even with the addition,
The size of it doesn't require it.
that makes things easier.
All right. That's all I have. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Berkey.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Casper.
I just have one question. Will this addition be used for anything else other than for the drivers to be able to wait?
No, just a waiting room.
That's it. I really had no questions. Now, do the drivers do a morning run and then hang out?
Well, so right now they currently have like no waiting area, so they're outside the building or in the like waiting area that's like tiny, so they need somewhere bigger. So
Do they hang around there until their afternoon?
pretty much, yeah, they hang around until their route comes. They grab the radio and they take their route. So
Okay, just wondering how it worked.
no, yeah, and the structure they have now is there's rain coming in there. It's yeah, they got electrical hanging out. It's all type of thing.
Okay. Well, then we won't take too much more time. I'd like to have a motion to approve PC 22-12.
So moved.
Second.
Casper Meyer.
Casper Meyer. Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, so now your building permit will move forward.
Okay.
And you can contact me tomorrow. and-
Okay, we'll go from there.
go from there.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have a concept review for a planned unit development at 300 West Dundee Road by Turk Walker Ventures LLC. Now, this is not like our usual dockets for any new folks that haven't been through one of these. Petitioner will present a high-level presentation of what they have in mind, but very few details will be included as far as actual design. We won't be voting on a concept, but this is our opportunity to give feedback so that they can start developing their preliminary plans, which they will bring back to us at a later date. So, Ms. Nyes, anything in addition before the petitioner?
I just wanted to let the Plan Commission know that the concept review was presented to the village board on June 6th of this year, and they provided comments, and notably, these two comments, they had concerns about the lack of open space within the proposed development, and there were also concerns about the tandem two-car garages.
Thank you. Who's going to speak first? And
If you treat me like you treat the last guy, I'll speak. How's that?
state your name and business address, and anyone else as you come up, same thing.
Good evening. My name's Mark Korinsky. On behalf of the petitioner, I'm with HKM Architects and Planners, and we are at 43 South Vale in Arlington Heights. So, as it was stated, we were in front of the concept review at the village board, and they directed us to you. We are for concept review. It would be a PUD. We've been at this for a while. We've been having numerous meetings with staff, and where we started, this is a just over 10-acre site. We did not control all of the 10 acres. And as you might be aware, the village owns one of the pieces as well. So we came in with a 5-acre concept of the area that we thought we could control, numerous conversations, and they directed us to go and look at the station area plan, which you guys worked real hard on, and, look at the comprehensive plan. And, there are a couple key components that come out of that. One of them is they really want, out of that, all the design concepts, all that, they wanted common ownership and also common circulation and traffic and all that. So we spent a lot of time, and we were quiet with the staff for a while because we came back, and we basically managed to control the whole site. So, the first big piece of the comprehensive plan and the station plan was to try and control all 10 acres. And that changed the whole plan. The other thing in the comprehensive plan and station area is we had numerous conversations about retail. And you guys know as well as anybody, retail is a wonderful challenge right now. Done right, you can fill it. Done wrong, it's going to compete with the other empty retail in town. You guys have done a great job right now at the corner, because this is basically finishing off this corner, because you've got, where the main area, One Wheeling Town Center to the south, you've got the 500 to the northwest corner, and this is that northeast corner. So what we're looking at doing is trying to figure out how to build off of what you guys have done and complement it and not compete with it. So context models, you guys had a bunch in the comprehensive plan. You had a bunch of context models. We just tried to emulate those. But if we move on to there's the street. You can see it, you can see it, you can see it, and you know it. Here's the concept. You start with commercial. Commercial, we do a lot of commercial. We used to do a lot more. But commercial needs a couple big things, especially in today's climate. It needs visibility, and it needs parking, and it needs access. The challenge we have is we have the signal, right? We got the signal at the Parkway and Dundee, which is a heavily used signal, as you know. You can even see in this photograph, you can see all the cars that are stacked up in southbound traffic waiting to get onto or across Dundee Road. There's also a signal to our benefit over at the post office. So those are the two main points. The other point that we anticipate we should be able to get a full access is going to be way up north and work with Uptown 500, because that's their full access, just south of the little bridge that goes over the creek. So you look at retail, and that's what you have to work with. And that shows that red area is the retail. That's about 10,000 square feet of retail, which is a sizable amount of retail. So what do we have? We're proposing to work and get a right-in, right-out. So what's the key of retail? Westbound traffic. They can see the retail, they can see the front door, and they can see parking. They can then make a right turn in, and they can get into the retail. If they want to continue on westbound, they know where they just came in, and they can go back out on the right in, right out. If they want to go back east, they have two options. They can go north up to Northgate Parkway, or they can go over to the post office signal. But the first thing we started with this, once we acquired all 10 acres, is how do we create a viable amount of retail? Retail wants to be in that corner. We don't think retail wants to go towards the post office. The whole character of Dundee Road changes as you work towards the post office. Heck, even the setback and the beautiful landscape and setback you have of this building, it's a different character than you were as you work towards One Wheeling Town Center. But that's where we started. The next component is the upscale apartments. And what we did there is because we didn't want to compete with those same cars for the retail. So you can see there's a little oval and a circle drop-off up at the north end of it. That's the main entrance for the apartments. So that full access off of the parkway is the main entrance, but we're trying to separate the parking so you're not competing for the same parking. It is a wrap building. I think you're familiar with what those are. The benefit of a wrap is you put the parking in the middle where it's fairly well located for all the residents. It's also completely hidden, so you don't have any of the neighbors or the residents as they come in, or guests or anybody seeing the majority of the parking, and the majority of it is covered as well. It is a 6-story building, so it's 6 stories of apartments, and that's basically the purple building. The retail is buried is probably not the best word. The retail is incorporated within the apartment building. So the apartment building normally is somewhere around 10 and a half feet floor to floor. So we're taking out the first 2 floors where that red is, so we can get tall retail. So you can get 14, 16 feet of clear height for retail because you want a nice character for retail space. You don't want to just compress it down. And then the building overlaps on top of that. I can get into the detail, and I will if you want, or feel free to interrupt if I've already misspoken or something. To the right, the beige buildings are rental townhomes. That's something you may not have seen. They are just, they're rent by choice is a growing thing, and you're seeing apartments everywhere, and you've seen all of them in other communities, in your community. And now you're seeing that people want something and saying, hey, I'm liking this, and now maybe I want something a little more. So it's a townhome, but it's rental. We're seeing some other areas that they're doing rental single-family projects as well. So the concept of rental townhome is I want to spend a little more, I want to live it like a townhome, and I don't want to live in an apartment building. We have 2 different products proposed there. One is your traditional 2-car, they're all rear loaded, so they all feed off of an alley, so you don't have all these garage doors on the street. One is a 2-car, so it's the traditional 20-foot wide unit where you get 2 cars, and then you get a bonus room, stairs, and then you get your common, your kitchen, and your dining room and all that on the 2nd floor, and then you get the bedrooms on the 3rd floor. The other one is a little different, and it's a 1-car tandem, and that's what was mentioned a little earlier. Keep in mind, this is rental, this is not ownership. So what the 1-car does is you get 1 car in front, 1 car behind. I mean, it's like I have a detached garage in the back, but our driveway is 1 foot wide. So it functions basically the same way. Whoever's car's in the drive, you gotta move cars, or you just plan it. The benefit is a couple things, is it provides a variety of product because that 2-car wide townhome, it's really hard to do smaller than about 2,000 square feet. And so you can imagine from a rent price, it starts to go up because that's a big unit. So that 1-car tandem, you're still getting the 2 cars, but you get a narrower unit. So now you can get down into the 1,400 square feet. So it helps create a variety of market for residents that want to be here. So now you've got an option. You can be in a 0, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom in the main building, or you can be in a rental townhome and have all the access to the pool and all the amenities and everything else, and now you've got 2 different product with that. So that's the concept. If we go to the next, you can see the red arrows are showing how circulation works and pedestrian circulation. So there it is. If you go to the next slide, this is the social hub of the whole project. And if you haven't been in some of these, we did just up the road in Lincolnshire, if you've been to the 444 Social, we did that project. That one's got probably about 12,000 square feet of common space. But you walk in there and they use the word social on the project because it really is the social hub. It's a leasing area, but it's more than that. You can go pick up your coffee in the morning. They have TVs going on. They have an area it's sort of like a bar or a kitchen that you can rent out. We do a fitness center there. There they have a golf swing, so you can go do the virtual golf with your real clubs. They have all that space. It relates directly to the outside, so you've got the pool. Obviously, in our season, we're coming to the end of the pool year, but then what you do is you extend it because you have lounges and grills. So you have fire pits, and you have grill stations, and everything else. So the mail is there, the parcel pickup is there, so everybody uses that. That's the function. It's a social hub for the whole project. And, it really becomes a place. This pool that we show, if you see the space, the fulcrum, the little shift, that's actually a lap pool. So whether you actually swim or not, we see more and more people doing outdoor sports and outdoor aerobics. And so with a lap pool, you can either do it for swimming as a lap, or you can imagine an instructor on the south side and people are walking or they're doing aerobics. It really becomes an amenity that these communities are really looking for and using. When we go back to our projects and look at them and say, okay, what could we design differently? What's being used? What's not? And we just did another project, and they said we need a bigger pool. And so even in our climate, when it's used a lot. And then you can see here, we've got the lounge and all that, so in the pools in the winter, when you've got the cover on it, it's not, you can still use the outdoor space. So the next slide, we have no idea what it's going to look like, but it's going to look really cool. It is a concept review. These are various projects that we have done. If you notice anything about them is that no 2 look the same. Okay, so we want to get some direction and feedback, but we also want to get some traction. Say, hey, we think this concept makes sense with the rental townhomes, with the 6-story apartments. We think there's a demand. We want an appropriate amount of retail on this site, but we need houses here more than we need retail to help support the one center, to the retail to the south. What we don't want to do is compete with the retail to the south. We don't want to start taking tenants from there and putting them ours because that doesn't help you guys. So what we want to do is get some traction from the Plan Commission and say yes, and then we get the real fun, which is start to design the project. You already have some cool architecture on the corner, maybe not the post office, but the other corners, but they're different, right? So now we want to go explore and find something that's different. More slides are just more character images. There's 444 Social, there's something in Wisconsin, there's the 770 up in Northbrook, which is a taller building, but they all have a nice upscale character, but they're dramatically different. Tuck under retail, you can see there's your project across the street, there's 2 of your projects, the 2 left images. But I think you understand how tuck under retail works, and that it's part of the building, although you do a different facade because you're going to have continuous storefront and the like. For 44 North Vale, that's just in our area. And then townhomes. Again, my gut is we are going to do probably a flat roof here, and there's some really cool opportunities to actually do rooftops on the flat roofs, which we've done in certain places, but you can see the bottom middle one is a pitched roof. The upper left is actually not townhomes, but it looks like townhomes. The upper left is actually an apartment building that facade is only 3 stories and the rest is tall in the back. So That's the basic concept. We can answer and get into as many weeds as we know at this point in time, but we're excited. I think the trustees raised some good questions, but it was a unanimous vote, and they said, welcome to town, and I think they were looking forward to having us, further the design on. There was a question about open space. We went back and looked. Of the 10, I think it's 10.3 acre site, we've got about 4 acres of green here. So, maybe our graphics don't show it well or whatever, but, what we did was we purposely tried to create these courtyards on Dundee. Because the challenge you have with Dundee is you've got big setbacks for your building right here. And we always look at it and say, if I was renting or one of my kids were renting or my mom was renting, where would they want to live and how would they want to experience it? And we didn't want to put a wall of building right on Dundee, both for the people that are driving Dundee and as well as the renters. So if you notice, we created these fingers that work south on Dundee, so you don't have a big mass of, one more, there you go. So you've got the fingers for the larger, taller building, but that created 2 passive courtyards. So, in there, we can still have grilling, off the fitness center, we'll probably have a yoga mat section and things like that, but so there's all that open space, and that courtyard's over 70 feet wide. So there's a lot of green. I'll keep talking, but I'd rather hear from you guys.
You can keep going.
One of the big things on the concept stationary plan was connectivity, and we all know that signal, I'm trying to think of what I didn't touch base on. We all know that signal gets real busy, right? So one of the things was, can you create a road? So if you look at the signal at the post office, getting over to the parkway. So if you look, what we did is we didn't just bring a road and technically comply, we treated it as a street. So there are parkway trees there, there's lay-by parking, there's a street or a sidewalk right there. We didn't jam it with parking, which is the efficient developer way to do something. And then we did a sidewalk on the creek side. So for the character, for somebody not knowing the plan driving through, it's going to feel like a village street. And it's going to appear that it's part of the community and not just technically driving through and into. It also provides guest parking for those townhomes. So you can see even the townhomes that we do have facing Dundee, because this thing tapers off, higher density on the left, lower density as you go east. We created a second section of sidewalks. So you've got the sidewalk on Dundee, then you've got a green area for a setback, and then you've got another sidewalk for the entrances, because those are the front doors for all the units. All right, now I'm going to try and be quiet.
Okay. I guess we can go to the commission and start our discussion. Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. I echo the village board's concerns about parking. I live in a condominium complex. We have 564 units. Every unit has a 1-car garage, and we have probably 6 times as many cars as there are units, and parking is an issue for us, and there is nothing we can do about it. So I'm not an expert on the subject. I'm just echoing the concern. My biggest concern is that there will be cars that will attempt to turn left into the development while they're going eastbound on Dundee Road. Even if it's angled and they're not supposed to, and there's signs there, I'm still concerned that people will do it because I see them do it elsewhere. And I'm sure you've taken this into consideration, but if you have people doing that, then that has a ripple effect on the rush hour traffic and the train tracks. So hopefully that would be taken into consideration. Do I understand that the entrance to the garage is on the north side of the apartments where these 2 little arrows are?
Exactly.
Is that the only way in and out?
Currently.
Okay. And then this big space, and I'm not real good on this kind of stuff, the big space in the middle is actually, the green space is actually the parking garage?
The gray block, that long gray rectangle, that's the parking.
Okay, and that's going to be 5 stories?
Yeah, about, the benefit of that is you just keep going up until you don't need cars, but it's
Yeah.
below the height of the unit.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. That's all that I have, thank you. And I'm glad that you hopefully would be able to develop this entire parcel. And I think it's great that there's already this access from where the post office is, which right now, I don't think anybody ever uses except if they're going to the post office.
Commissioner Berkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, in terms of the way it looks like it's going to be laid out and in comparison to some of the other projects you've done, I think it's brings the type of character that we want to see in Wheeling. But I echo the other concerns about the parking, but also the access in and out. So I'm kind of picturing if you have retail here, you're going to have people going in, like say for example, from Dundee Road, like he also mentioned, you know, you could, people are going to be coming in from the west, going east, trying to get in, which is a problem. The other thing is that if you have someone coming in from Dundee, they may decide they want to come up through the other direction up to Northgate. Is this access that's pointing eastbound from Northgate Parkway, is this supposed to only be a one-way in?
No, what we anticipate, the arrow right there, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
We anticipate there'll be, and the caveat, we will have a full traffic consultant on board. We've done a preliminary, but we'll have a full traffic, and they will deal with parking as well as circulation. So there will be numerous conversations. We anticipate that there'll probably be 3 lanes at that point.
Okay.
There'll be an inbound and 2 outbound. There'll probably be a left, which is in west or south, or a right north.
Okay.
And then if you're coming in there, so you can turn in, and then you see there's that first area of gray. So if you were coming east on Dundee, you would go north on the Parkway, you'd make a right, another right, and then come past the pool and down to the retail.
Okay. So with the exception of the dual entrance or the entrance and exit, ingress, egress from Dundee, the rest of these access areas are both in and out?
The 2 on between the post office and the main entrance are right in, right out. Correct.
Okay.
You can still get out, you just can only go right.
Right, okay.
So no one can cross over,
Okay.
unless they go in by the post office or pass it and go up.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Good evening.
Glad to see something evolving on this property here, finally. My first question for you is the concerns that the board had. There was various ones that they had, and they listed them. Are you going to take those into consideration in moving forward with this? As far as, I can read them off here. They were concerned about the open space, as one of them. Stormwater management. A possible trail or path along Buffalo Creek, develop that. And then also the tandem garages. Are you going to address those concerns?
Yeah, well, we're sure not going to ignore them. So here's our approach. We want to get feedback from you, and then we're going to take all of that, and then we're going to talk to our experts, and we're going to have continued conversations. So we have, I think, you know, if you look at this, stormwater, we've already conceptualized with our consultant and our engineer. So we've got a concept of an idea, but it has to be flushed out, obviously. In terms of the tandem cars, getting feedback from you, and we need to be able to prove to you that we think it works or not, and whether it's going to be a process. You guys know these things don't just happen overnight. In terms of the open space, I think we just need to have, show what we are using that open space for. 38%, 4 acres of it is way more than any of the projects around us, short of this building here. So to me, it's not just a raw number, it's how you use the space. So the short answer, yes, we're going to do all of this, and we're not ignoring any of it. We think we've got a good concept in the start, but we'll flush it out, and the plan will move as we move together.
I have to be completely honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the tandem garage. Reason being, you have two cars in the garage, one in the driveway. You're blocking two cars versus side by side where you have one car in the drive. You still have access in and out with one of the cars that are in the garage.
Well, the good news is the driveway is not long enough for a car, but that's probably not what you want to hear. And again, this is, I'm not being defensive. Right or wrong, here's what we're doing. It's a rental project. So rental is different. We're having this same conversation in another community without the no apron, no place to park a car. If this was home ownership, even our traffic consultant would be saying, we wouldn't recommend that. Okay. In fact, one project we were doing rental, the developer switched to ownership, and then we had to change the plan because our own consultant couldn't support it. So we're going to go and we're going to talk to our consultant, and we may come back with a tweak there. I think there'll still be townhomes there, but it'll be a tweak, either if we can't convince you or anybody else of the tandems, if the market isn't going to support it. So we're fact-finding right now.
Yeah, that's what was another thing I was wondering about as far as the market is concerned, whether that would be a deterrent for your renters.
Yes.
If they see that and then say, no, I'm not interested in that.
Everybody wants everything, but it's what they can afford.
Yeah.
So we've done a certain level of a market study. Once we get all this feedback, one of the things we ask at the second level is actually the tandems, the aprons, and everything else.
Do you mind if I ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Okay.
No problem.
For the tandems, you were saying that tends to be the smaller units, and you potentially for the townhomes too?
Yeah, it's a way to make a smaller unit because it's narrower.
Would it be more like a one-bedroom then?
It'd still be a 2 or a 3 bedroom.
It'd still be two, okay, just a question, that's. Thanks.
As far as the density for the whole area, how do you come up with that calculation for the density on the 10 acres?
Well, we took 10.35 acres and we said you've got 335 apartments and we've got 44 townhomes, and we came up with 370 divided by the 10.75, and it's 30-some. We have been known to do math wrong sometimes, but
36 units per acre, is that?
thereabouts, yeah.
And our code allows for 20 units per acre?
So we're before you for a PUD. So what we did is we looked at the market, we looked at the surrounding uses, which have high density, and we said, what's going on? We actually looked at even more units because there aren't rental townhomes here. So we had a conversation, is a lower density product and a hybrid better? Because at some point you don't want to have too many of these taller buildings. So we did not design it based upon a number of density.
Okay.
Yes, can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
Just, so when a PUD comes through, you'll see it in the preliminary and in the final. They don't go for variations. They'll have a list of deviations. And so they would have deviations from the parking code, deviations from the density. They would set their own setbacks, things like that. So that's how the PUD is different from a development that goes straight with the code.
Thank you. Okay. For the life of me, I can't understand why you aren't interested or want to use the corner of Community Boulevard and Dundee Road for retail versus where you have it. It seems to me that the access would be way easier and better for retail at that corner versus where you have it now.
What we were trying to do, right or wrong, the main signal at One Wheeling Town Center is becoming your corner of Main and Main in your town. There's a lot of traffic, but you guys have set it up that is your corner of Main and Main. way more than the Weston and the North Shore intersection and everything else. So that is becoming the central. If you look at your comprehensive plan, you want to take that density and you want to push it across the tracks and go west and the like. But right now, this is it. So what we were trying to do is do anything we could to help emphasize that corner. So you have all sorts of retail going east and west, little shop retail, from years ago on Dundee. What we were trying to do is help create a critical mass. And our thought was if we put it there, that I agree with you, there are some benefits from a circulation standpoint, but at some point I don't think it helps the context of the whole community. What we're trying to do, where the Starbucks is, trying to say, hey, why, if somebody's there, let's try and encourage pedestrian access. I think pedestrian access is still a big challenge on Dundee. I think just being a pragmatic approach. That being said, we were trying to push retail in proximity, even the Uptown 500, with the glass and the open potential retail or future retail, have it all play onto itself at that corner of Main and Main.
All right, well, thank you very much. That's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Riles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just echoing what everyone has mentioned and what's prominent here, and of course it's the one-car tandem. And forgive me, what are the numbers regarding the one-car tandem garages that you guys have set up?
So here's what we have. We have two, as I said, we have two different units. We have 10 of the 2-car, and we have 34 of the 1-car. So, but our parking for the townhome, those tan buildings right there, is, I think it's 2.75. So we're at 2.75 overall parking, including guest for those. But it's 10 and 34.
So 34 one-car tandem.
Yeah.
Right. And then, in a beautiful world, everything works smoothly and flowingly, but in the real world in which we live, people coming and going back and forth, and I certainly can understand, when you have people pulling in and pulling out, it could cause a lot of minor chaos, so to speak. I guess my question is, have you guys thought that through in the real world as far as, homeowners coming in and out with this one car? Because it can cause a lot of confusion. God forbid any type of, accidents or whatever. But has that, the reality of this concept resonated with you guys that, we have to reconsider this and make a better alternative or solution?
Yeah, we've considered it. We've seen it in other places. Based upon the warm reception we're hearing here for the 1-car, I think it's something we're going to, dive into deeper and see what we can do, for an alternate or the like. But again, it gets into the whole providing a variety of product. We tried to do is provide adequate areas. So if you pull in and, your wife left the car, yes.
I mean, that's the reality of it.
Life is not perfect.
Yeah, it's the reality of it. And, the last thing, neighbors or anyone want is a conflict,
right,
especially with, with vehicles. And I think that's one of the main reasons it's on the table and it's a concern.
And like I said, at a rental community, it's a little different, but we've seen it before. But again, we are going to review it again based upon the comments we're hearing.
That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you very much. And again, I really appreciate the work that you've done to try to assemble these 10 acres and sharing with us some of your other projects. I do have a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Bring it on.
I know we've talked a lot about our traffic concerns and, just the difference between an owned development and a rental development and what that means in terms of parking. I think if you can help educate us a little bit more, and tonight's probably not the night, but if we can understand a little bit better why there is this difference in tandem parking, given the type of ownership, that could be really helpful.
Okay.
Just talking about parking, can you explain to me a little bit about your guest parking I do see it on the plan, but is there a certain ratio that you're using for that guest parking?
So here's how, there's two different guest parking. So if I can, and I'm not going to answer the first one because I think you guys have raised the bar that we need to come back to you with some
Fair
more
enough.
ammunition or more evidence or whatever. So, but in terms of guest parking, we have two different guest parking right now. If you look at the tandems, we have a couple of pull-ins off the alley, but most of it is tried to treat it as a street, just like a single-family neighborhood. We've got the knuckles and the lay-by parking. So you can see in pretty much all around the project, and you can see the roads, you can see that parallel parking. So that's how the guests work, so they can park at the front door, not have to be in the back on an apron, and then they can go through the front door. In terms of guest parking for the purple building, the apartment building, we have 2 tiers, and if we need to, we'll build a 3rd tier. So the first tier is the short term right by the front entrance, those 6, 7 cars right there. Okay, so that's usually short term, that's your leasing and the like. There's also a lay-by there, because inevitably what happens is the FedEx, the Amazon, or somebody being picked up, they pull up there. We normally are now, on these projects, we have 2 entrances. We have a main entrance in the lobby, we have sort of a secondary entrance, so the packages are brought in there, so they're not all coming through the front entrance. Then just to the right of that, you can see all those, there you go, those 90-degree cars. So that's your primary guest parking. Normally what happens on this, and each developer does things differently. Some developers do not assign the parking in the deck. Some developers assign and charge differently in the deck, and we just haven't gotten there. Some developers, based upon the market, they'll take the first couple of units in the deck and then make that guest. I don't think we're going to need that there, but that's part of the process.
Fair enough. And thank you for that clarification. I was pleased to hear you talk about the retail, and I think your concept of 2 stories definitely attractive. Obviously, you know, there's significant vacancies from a retail standpoint, so trying to figure out how you can offer that amenity and yet at the same point in time not compete with the surrounding areas seems like a challenge.
It is.
If I can move on for just a minute and talk a little bit about green space. So again, really pleased to hear that, you know, you have 4 acres that would be considered green space. What I'm most interested in understanding is how are you going to connect the pedestrian pathways, bike pathways, so that, you know, this development can tie into so many other things within the area?
So these arrows that are shown, the fatter arrows are in the road, are obviously for vehicular circulation. The narrow arrows, and maybe we should have done a different color, are pedestrian. There you have, obviously, behind the Village Hall, we have a great community center. You have a park. There's music playing.
Exactly.
You're walking in. So where do you want to cross? Where we differ with your stationary plan said that they were encouraging a mid-block crosswalk across Dundee. I would strongly suggest that we do not continue that conversation at all. I think it'd be dangerous. There's no safe way to do it. So we said, how do we get pedestrians from this side down into the main area? So you have the 2 signals. So if you look at how our circulation works, even if you're at the retail, you work towards that main intersection. If you're at the townhomes, you can cross and then come sort of the back door behind the Village Hall. We put a path along you can see it, we didn't put it because we don't control it on the post office, but if you're at the signal at the post office and want to go experience the creek, and this is in the staff comment, you can see, although it's small, you can see there's a sidewalk up there. Mm-hmm. So the idea is, now the creek, as you get into the access is Uptown 500, we have to align with what's already there. There's a culvert and bridge pretty close right there, so we're not sure we're going to be able to get a sidewalk on the north side of that bridge element. But if you look, you can walk down and we'll get you over to the Parkway sidewalk at that point as well. We hope, you know, we're anticipating we'll have bike storage in the parking deck, but it'll be locked in a separate room. But we'll probably have over 100 bike stores in there because we anticipate, based on what we're doing on these other projects, that people use bikes, and this is a great area to get them to go out.
Yeah, and there's so many parks and wonderful areas to take advantage of in the community, so it would be great to see that connectivity. Just two final questions, if I may. So talk to me a little bit about the pool area, the landscaping, and also where you plan to locate dumpsters.
Well, we don't have everything figured out. So-
Fair enough, fair
So
enough.
no, well, so the bigger question is actually going to be the townhomes. That's the harder thing to solve, okay? Because if it was a for sale, everybody would have the dumpsters, the rollouts, and then on garbage day, whatever. But now you're in a rental, so now we may have a standalone dumpster area that they take it to. We just don't know that yet. The main building, that's easier. We're anticipating that we would have 2 chutes. And what they do is a 6-story building, it's a chute, goes down, and it goes into a trash area in 2 different areas in the ground floor. And that there's a lay-by, there's one, you can't really see, if you look at the lower left of the garage, there's, right in that area is probably one, and then up by the front other entrance. Yeah, and if you go to the right, sorry, I said lower left, I meant lower right. So right in that area, but that area also is going to be an entrance for the townhome people to go into the building and then go over to the pool.
Yeah,
So-
I was asking more in the realm of just the garbage collection and the circulation around those townhomes.
Yeah, so the townhomes we have to work out. We've done it both ways, where they're actually in the unit, in the garage. And then you're going to tell me, okay, how does that work in a tandem? And I'm going to say, we're getting back to you, so we got to flush that out. For the 2-car, it's a little easier. But we've also done corrals, group corrals. And it's a rental. It's just a different market than what you're used to. The pool area, we can zoom in, and I can talk about that forever. So just, you'll have to cut me off, or what can I answer for you?
Yeah, I think I'm just more concerned in the pool area. How do you have that bit of separation from your pool area from the parking so that?
Go to the next one. There's a blow up. There you go. So here now you can see there's the handicap to the north, there's the teaser parking for leasing, there's the lay-by, which is inevitably somebody being dropped off, an Uber, also the FedEx guy. You can actually see there's a lobby and a lounge and an entrance, and then you get out to the lounge. But if you notice, the first thing you get out to is the lounge, because that lounge is a 4-season thing. As long as there's not 2 feet of snow on the ground, they'll still be out there. And so we didn't want it, you have to walk past a covered pool to get there. The pool, you can see conceptually, actually has a fence dashed around it.
Yes.
So you've got that required by code, but you still want it to look aesthetically and nice. And then you can see all the green, because we're not just going to fill it up with concrete. We're going to have landscaping, which this doesn't show other than trees. And then fitness, you can see, yeah, we've got this great fitness area to the south of us. People are still going to like to have a fitness area here. We're not going to compete with what's to the south, but people want to be able to walk down their hall and get to a fitness area. But then you can see where it says fitness outside. We've been putting AstroTurf out there, and they're doing morning yoga and stuff like that.
Makes sense. Thank you so very much for
Thank you.
answering all my questions, and again, taking the time to come address us this evening. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Are you currently in control of all the property, or close to that? What's the status on that?
I am not an attorney. So my understanding is contracts are being signed, but I have not seen signed contracts, but I never would anyway. So yes, that is my
We're going under
understanding.
the
My understanding
assumption-
is they've agreed to a number and they're just dotting i's, but
Okay.
that's what I've been told.
IDOT concerns. You probably haven't talked to IDOT yet as far as the access roads in and out.
Correct.
Kyle, anything on that?
I would just recommend setting up a preliminary meeting just to talk over conceptually what you're planning to do with IDOT before you get too far, too carried away with the engineering design. We've seen on other projects where IDOT has required deceleration lanes, which obviously takes up green space, takes up parkway. So something to think about. They may, limit the number of right-in, right-outs that you have. So something to look into.
Yeah, no, exactly. And our thought was get some feedback from you, because that helps us when we go talk to IDOT. Because if you guys really are pushing retail, which we've been told we need to have retail, that gives a little more ammunition, although with IDOT you don't have too much ammunition. But the idea is, yes, get some feedback from you so then we can go have that conversation. It may be that one's a write-in and not a write-out. It may be they take one away. We hope not, and we've got a good case for it, but again, it's not our road.
Water detention, Kyle, while your mic's on.
Obviously, since this is pretty conceptual, there is no detention, stormwater or floodplain currently. Obviously, that a lot of this site is in the 100-year flood zone, which is going to require compensatory storage. Obviously, it's really based on your engineering design too, and where you plan on placing fill. So there is that component, and then there's obviously stormwater detention. Until we see something more detailed, obviously that's going to be a concern of ours. Right now, there doesn't, I know the word green space has been used quite a bit today, but, detention is generally used, green space is generally used for stormwater detention. The alternative is underground, which is obviously quite a bit more expensive. Same with compensatory storage. So at this conceptual level, it's hard to imagine where that's going to go, but that's where the creativity of the engineers comes to play, and we'll have to see what they come up with.
Thank you. All right, looking at the townhouses. You have no driveways at all? And
No, we've got in this concept plan, we've got about an 8-foot driveway. And part of that is, it's for a couple of reasons. One is our experience is that I was going to say more so with renters, but that may not be the case. There are certain townhome projects you drive through and the garage has never seen a car because there's stuff in it. And
exactly.
So there is a thought that if you don't give them an apron, that it forces them, and if you don't have stronger than association, you're renting. So you can control things tighter as a rental community than you can as an association and traditional ownership. The thought is, although, this is the concept, is that you can control it more, and then we don't have all of these cars parked out all the time. There are some communities you drive through, and you see cars parked over the sidewalks, cars parked everywhere, and the garage has never seen the car.
That's what I see happening, especially with the tandem. They're going to have stuff in that.
So if you don't give them an apron,
they're going to park out on the street.
So
or in the visitor spots.
Right, so we have to prove that to you, but the thought is you have more control because it's a rental. You have a rental agreement. It's not going and fighting with your neighbors who are part of the association board.
Commissioner Sprague brought up a point about having the retail at the other end by the post office, and I see that as having some merit because people are in and out of there all the time, all day long. And having retail close to that main activity center might make more sense than having people have to drive all the way around to get to the retail, whatever that retail may end up being. It has to be pretty enticing to get people to make that journey versus having it right next to the main Community Boulevard entrance. Just my thought.
No, we'll look at it again. We were dealing with hierarchy of density, mass, activity at the southwest corner, and less density as you proceeded towards the less dense character of the community.
Yeah, there's a lot happening at that corner now. And
yes, there is.
Maybe, yeah, okay. Of course, the traffic study will be needed. On the commercial retail stuff, where do they get their deliveries? Is that all through the front door in this particular?
If you look at the very bottom, there's a tree that's cut off. On this screen right now, I don't have a pointer, or actually, do I have a pointer?
Okay, yeah.
All this time, I had a pointer and I didn't even know.
You were in control.
I'm never in control. This we are anticipating as a lay-by here for service for the retail, so you could get in right here.
So there'd be like a hallway.
So actually, we were, oops, see, this is why I should not be in control. Actually, we were thinking that you wouldn't do a sorry. We were thinking you wouldn't do a hallway. We would actually think that because this retail is 50 feet deep, that it would be front entrance only. So the idea is that you could have a little trash room right here, so the retail trash is enclosed and inside and not outside, and that you would have a lay-by for the delivery truck, but then it would be wheeled or walked over to here. That was the concept.
Okay. And don't forget to plan your dumpsters. I think that's about all we can really, that's all I really have, without seeing elevations and things like that. Any other comments from the commission? You got something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You mentioned about possible flat roofs on the townhomes, or the rental townhomes.
Yeah.
If you were to go that route, I'd like you to make sure that it has more character on the faces of the units than normal, if you're going to go with the flat roofs.
So, and again, we just did some flat roofs, 3.5 stories in Arlington Heights. The last one sold for $1 million. It can read rich. What we want to do is figure out what the architecture for the main building is and the retail, and make it part of the same community. You know, it can look like Lincoln Park row homes and be elegant. It's not a thing to cheapen up. It's a thing to just express that style of architecture. But
I'm old school. I like the gable.
Well, yeah, and you don't like tandem. I got that down too.
Yeah, right. And then move the retail right away while you're at.
Inspector Nemec, anything from fire department concerns?
Yes, we actually have a great concern with the whole concept of the building. When you have the parking garage that's totally enclosed, you don't have any natural ventilation outside of it because you have the building surrounding it. And with the newer electric cars and the fires that they, give off, the heat coming off of these cars, they say the temperature of the lithium-ion battery fires is like 3,600 degrees. So when you have concrete structure above the car fire, and concrete starts at 212 degrees, you get steam created in the concrete, which can cause spalling, and then the steel is exposed and it elongates and can actually cause collapse. We see this as a great danger, to our firefighters, who have to go in there. Tesla, I actually looked up like Tesla today. A normal, I've been on the fire department for over 30 years. A normal car fire, you could put out with 500 gallons of water on an engine. It's, probably much less than that. Tesla recommends that you have between 3,000 and 8,000 gallons of water to put out a car fire. And it says, if safety permits, lift and tilt the vehicle for more access to the battery. That's pretty difficult, when you can't even see where you're going in a garage that's completely enclosed and there's no natural ventilation. So we're actually very concerned about this. We'd rather see a garage that's more in line with like Uptown 500, where at least one side of the structure is open to allow some ventilation if there is a fire in there and stuff. And, a couple years back, there was a garage fire over in the UK, and they actually had like 1,400 vehicles burn up in a garage fire. And again, with the temperature that's coming off of these lithium-ion batteries and that kind of thing, we do not see this as a good design going forward, where more and more cars are going to be electric. And at some point, I'm sure Illinois will follow California and say only electric cars are going to be able to be sold in the state. So we have real grave concern with this concept.
Very good. Well, there's a hurdle for you.
Yeah, and again, we will be happy to have a conversation. These have been done, all across the country, as you know. And, just keep in mind, it is a fully sprinklered building. So as you know, and you realize that, and I'm not arguing, I'm saying and we've also done hybrids. So we've done hybrids where there's been, it's also mechanically, ventilated. We've also done hybrids where we've had partial walls exposed, or we've done walls where you've got the 10-foot separation and creating the flue there. So we will work with you and come, but, we have not seen the level of concern, but again, I'm not the one that's putting out the fires. So, but if you look at the other communities and what we're trying to do, and it's a balancing act because you want safety, we've got a four-sided building that you can see from the townhomes, from the creek to the north and the like. There are communities where you put the blank wall, and we've done projects where you put a blank wall, and you gotta, you know what the challenges of that are as well. So let's work together and find something that'll work.
What about circulation on the rest of the site?
That would be working with the engineers for the, the layout. Obviously, once we see and they do, the traffic studies and that kind of, we'd work with them and the engineers to make sure it's accessible for the vehicles and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. All right. I think that's all our comments. Ms. Nyes, do you have anything that's pending?
Nope,
Do we hit everything?
I think so.
So just to recap, you've got the water detention, you've got the parking garage issues, parking by the townhomes is still a big question. IDOT, what am I missing, Mike? I guess that's it. All right. Thank you for your presentation.
I really appreciate the time and look forward to working with you all to come up with a plan that works for everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. All right, next we have approval of minutes, the regular meeting of July 13th, 2022, and August 10th, 2022, including the finding of fact for 2022-30, -31A, and -31B.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Berkey?
Yes.
Commissioner Casper?
Yes.
Commissioner Riles?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes. Other business, as I brought up at our last meeting, we need to elect a secretary pro tem for this commission. At that meeting, Commissioner Casper offered to fill the position. If there's no further discussion, I just need a formal nomination and second, followed by a roll call vote.
I nominate Commissioner Casper to be the Secretary Pro Tem.
I second the nomination.
Chairman Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
I didn't even catch that. Oh, my gosh.
That election.
I just hear Meyer and I go, yes.
That was fast.
Commissioner Berkey?
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Riles?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes. Congratulations on your promotion.
Way to go.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And you'll need it at the next meeting. Ms. Nye, speaking of the next meeting.
The next meeting will be the joint meeting with the village board, and that'll be held at the Public Works Building in the lunchroom.
That's 3 weeks from tonight.
Sure. September 14th, I believe.
Yeah. Any details on subject matter or anything, or they will be sending something out?
It's going to be on the ordinance section, or Title 19, or,
Amendments to,
yeah, amendments to the zoning code.
Okay. I will not be in attendance at that particular meeting, so Commissioner Sprague will represent me. Any other business from you, Marcy?
Nope, nothing else.
Commissioner Casper, any other business?
No, sir.
Commissioner Berkey?
No, sir, thank you.
Commissioner Sprague?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Commissioner Riles,
Nothing, thank you.
and Commissioner Meyer.
Nothing, Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, I haven't noticed a lot going around town other than Ozinga is gone, huh? The cement company?
They haven't been using that facility for at least a year or two now.
Yeah, it looks like most of their stuff is out of there now.
Yeah.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.